Eric from PhoneScoop here with the new Touch. This is HTC's attempt to bring some of iPhone's touchscreen goodness to the Windows Mobile platform. This uses Windows Mobile 6 Professional Edition, what used to be called Pocket PC. The first thing you'll notice when you grab the Touch is just how small it is. It's positively tiny. The Touch fits easily in your hand, and it feels much nicer compared to the bulk of today's smartphones, which, even though they're just as thin as the Touch, are significantly larger. They basically dwarf the Touch. The other thing that you'll notice is that even though it's a Pocket PC phone, the screen is flat. It's not indented, and it doesn't have that gushy feel like you normally get on touchscreen phones. The Touch doesn't have very many buttons. They really want you to use the screen for everything. On the front is this D-pad with a very large center select key and two tiny send and end keys on either side. On the left is a volume slider. On the right, a camera button. And behind this door, which you have to remove the back and then go through a bunch of acrobatics to get open, are the memory card slot and the SIM slot. On the top is a power button, and on the bottom, a USB port. There's a 2-megapixel camera on the back. When you start using the Touch, you'll notice the new software that HTC has added to make it less reliant on the stylus and easier to use with your fingers. For example, this new home screen with a large clock, the typical missed messages, and upcoming appointments, but also these three buttons, which take you to this display, to a weather report, and to a launcher that gives you quick access to 10 of your most commonly used programs. But this isn't the launcher that you're going to spend the most time using. What you are going to use is the one that you summon up by sliding it up from the bottom. This launcher has 3 panes, one for entertainment, one for 9 of your most used contacts, as well as access to the phone function, and one for functionality like email, SMS, and quick access to the browser. Once you tap on one of these apps, what you see is what you're accustomed to seeing on the Pocket PC. The changes aren't present throughout the entire operating system, but just on this Genie launcher that you call up by sliding up, and you can actually put away by sliding away. However, one feature that's present throughout the entire Pocket PC operating system that HTC has added to the Touch is flick scrolling like we saw on the iPhone. So for example, if we want to scroll through PhoneScoop, which we've loaded up here in the browser, I can actually just flick it up and it'll start scrolling. It'll slow down eventually, but if I want to stop it while it's scrolling quickly, I can just tap and it'll stop immediately. You can also click and drag with your fingernail and it'll select text the same way you would normally do if you got out the stylus and did it. You're going to wind up using your fingernail for a lot here because unfortunately the stylus is only about 2.5 inches long. This isn't a problem for things like browsing. However, it is a problem when you want to do things like compose a new SMS. For example, just getting to a new SMS message requires a lot of delicate clicking. And then, once you're there, typing out the message is something that you have to do on this tiny keyboard, which is far too big to do with your finger, or even your fingernail. So you're going to need this stylus a lot. We really wish that, just like they had added the drag to scroll or flick to scroll, that HTC had added a nice keyboard that was big enough to use with fingers. Even small fingers like mine are too big for this one. If we start out the PhoneScoop test, we can use the word complete built in, but unfortunately, it still takes a little while for us to tap out a simple 10-letter message. HTC forgot to consider our fingers with the text keyboard, but they did remember to consider our fingers when it comes to the dial pad. Now it has much larger number keys so that you can tap with your bare finger and not with a stylus to dial a number. And just like they considered the use of your fingers with the dialer, they also considered the use of your fingers with things like the camera, which you can use the camera button to snap a picture, but all of the controls are on screen, including this menu system. Finally, the Touch has a new music player that looks a lot more like your typical, Zune iPod layout than what you normally see in Windows Media Player. Windows Media Player is on here, by the way, and you can use it to play back videos. However, if you're playing back music, you're definitely going to want to stick to this player. Not only are the buttons optimized for finger use on screen, but it also displays your library in, like we said, the way that you're used to seeing it on your Zune or your iPod or whatever. If we back out of here, just by tapping in the title, you can see we can get all songs, specific playlists, artists, albums, etc. If we click on an album, we get a list. The only problem that we found with this player so far is that once you're in a list of an album tracks, the list is alphabetical and not by the track number stored in the ID3 tags, which is rather unfortunate. Otherwise, we think that this is a much nicer interface than what you get from Windows Media Player. Although this version of the Touch was only announced for Europe today, there is a version coming to America later this year, so you can look for it on store shelves this fall.